Welcome to Walk the Walk, where we go beyond talking the talk. I'm Scott McClarty, head of Providence High School in Burbank, California, and in this show, we talk out of school about growing up and being a grown-up, about learning and leading for a better world. Let's get into it. Today, we're heading into the vault to revisit some of my previous conversations with our guests. These conversations are great to re-engage with because they're centered around many of the core themes we've been exploring here: leadership, trust, resilience, and how we prepare young people for the world they're stepping into. They originate from a podcast I hosted before Walk the Walk called Beyond the Bell, created in partnership with two Providence parents, acclaimed actors and comedians Matt Walsh and Jim Connor, whose creativity and generosity never fail to entertain and support us. In this episode, we're sharing part of the conversation I had with Tom Vozzo, former CEO of Homeboy Industries, the largest gang intervention and reentry program in the world. Under his leadership, Tom helped expand a mission rooted in hope, healing, and second chances, creating opportunities for thousands of people to rebuild their lives. In our discussion, we explored themes of transformation, the relationship between healing and learning, and what it means to build cultures of trust, belonging, and purpose, while also reimagining leadership and even business as forces for good. Here are a few moments from that conversation with Tom. We hope you enjoy. Tom, welcome to Providence and to Beyond the Bell.
Great. Thanks for having me.
I always start with the same question. Can you tell us about your high school experience?
Oh my. Boy, after having this a terrific tour of your high school, I wish I could go back to high school and now come here because although my high school is similar size, my graduating class was about 130 students. Small school in suburban New Jersey. I had a good high school experience. Finally, when I got to high school, I've kind of a little bit found myself and started thinking of what I could actually dream and do in life. And I'm thankful I had some teachers who sort of pushed me along.
That's great. High school is such a fun time, but it's also such a time of transition, figuring yourself out. It's a real privilege to be able to be at a school every day, seeing that process take place. You see transition too at Homeboy. Can you tell us a little bit about how maybe the type of adolescent transition we see here is both similar and totally different than the sort of personal transformations you see happening at Homeboy?
Oh, it's a good question. Let me actually take a couple of different shots at it. You know, at Homeboy, we're a nonprofit organization. Our core mission is we help gang members when they leave the prison system change their life around, right? And they change their life around by fundamentally have to heal from the trauma they've experienced as a young person. And so when they come to Homeboy, you know, a lot of people have this concept and thought of what a gang member's like and whatever the stereotypes are. But what I have seen is how people come and they're unsure of themselves, they're unsure of their spot in society, they're unsure of what they want to do in the future. They don't have a lot of confidence in their abilities, right? And so
sounds like a lot of teenagers.
Right. In some ways, it's a lot of teenagers. And the other interesting phenomenon, I don't want to go too deep into this, but oftentimes we have a lot of people come out of the prison system after 10 years, 15 years, 30 years. And it is interesting that when they go into the prison system as a young person, whether it's 17 or 18, 19 years old, it's a little bit like arrested development, like their thoughts and how they view the world, their intellectual maturity is not there. But when they come to Homeboy, they start learning for the first time, and you can just see them blossom and grow and become inquisitive and really start finding themselves along the way. And so in that way, while we're not a school, we try to create an environment where people are constantly learning, and for us, it's they're learning and they're healing from their trauma at the same time.
You know, the connection between learning and healing, I think, is fascinating. I've been in education almost 25 years, and this is the first time I've really thought deeply about the connection between learning and healing, only because we happen to be the only school in the country that's part of a healthcare system.
Sure.
And their vision is health for a better world. And from a Christian Catholic perspective, and the sisters talk about this, you can't separate the healing ministry of Jesus from the teaching ministry of Jesus.
Exactly.
And that is another deep connection, I think, between Homeboy and Providence.
Yeah, and for sure, I would say if there's a third connection there is providing a safe spot, almost like a sanctuary. And so when people walk through the doors of Homeboy for the first time, they're getting out of the jail system, the prison system, They're generally without clothes, food, shelter, and they have this sense that they want to change their life. They don't want to go back to gang life. They're tired of it. But they're second, third generation gang members. They don't know somewhere else, but they know they can walk through Homeboy's doors and get help in some sort of way. And we say yes to them. But really, it's like within our buildings, it's like they can be themselves. It's a safe spot. They don't have to worry about putting that exterior on of hard shell gang member and mad dogging somebody else, or worrying about that they're in danger. But it's that when people feel safe, then the healing can start to happen, and then the learning happens. But the first aspect of it is a nice, safe spot for them.
It's fascinating. You basically just quoted things that I say about Providence High School all the time, that this is a place where kids don't have to put on masks. They can come here and be safe and be themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of if you think back at the John Hughes films, the depicting high school in the 80s, and all of these cliques, and everyone's wearing a mask, right?
Yep.
And we deliberately try to create a space where they don't have to. They can shed those masks when they cross the threshold.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny. I'll say this. It was an eye-opening experience for me, because I just been at Homeboy for 12 and a half years. Prior to that, 26 years in the corporate sector. And when I show up at Homeboy, we can talk about how I got there later, but when I show up at Homeboy, those first couple of months, I see people just sitting around kicking it and laughing and talking to each other, and there's tears and all. And I'm thinking, as this sort of hard-charging corporate guy, whoa, wait a minute, people aren't being productive here. Why are people just sitting around and not getting things done?
Yeah.
Right? And it took me a while through Father Greg teaching me. It's like part of this is about building positive relationships for the first time in their life, and to be authentic about it, and not to put on airs, and not. And so a huge part of healing is not just the safety aspect, but the finding relationships with other people they never thought they would ever have.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, in business speak, the business model of Homeboy is allowing that to happen.
It's amazing. So another thing that's really unique about Homeboy is what you all call your social enterprises. Can you explain how those work? What are they? I think you have a new one too that has to do with
Sure.
pets.
Pets, yeah. So we just opened up a dog grooming salon called Puppy Fades. And look, we've been thinking about this for a while. We want more businesses, right? And we call them social enterprise businesses. And we have a bakery, we have a cafe, we have an electronics recycling company, and a bunch of other things. But why we have those businesses is that our population has never really worked anywhere in their life prior to Homeboy, right? They've had maybe a job for a week or two, but not any sustained amount of time. And so some of our businesses, like our bakery and our cafe, are pure training businesses. We run those with 3 times as much labor as a comparable for-profit business would have, because we want to provide the jobs and the opportunities. And it is a mindset shift about how we think about our social enterprises. We bake bread to hire homies, not hire homies to bake bread. The point is, we're not running a bakery because we want to make money and thereby we're hiring this population to make it happen. We're running a bakery because we want to provide the jobs and opportunities for our folks. And what I've seen at Homeboy is that at Homeboy, in our businesses that we run like a for-profit business, they're able to do well. Not only do well, they're able to run those businesses. So all the management in our businesses are former clients, and they do a tremendously great job. And I say this because I was a guy who ran lots of businesses over the years. This workforce at Homeboy is just as good as any other workforce. But because of their background, because of their felony, because of what's happened to them, they're not getting those market-based wage jobs. And so for us, we want to keep growing our businesses so they can take care of their family and they can do well.
So one of the things you were just talking about, growing clients into leaders, and not just business leaders, but people leaders. I think leadership development has really been top of mind for me and for us here at Providence. And in a way, the old way of thinking about leadership is, leaders seek followers. But really, I think leaders seek to create other leaders, to multiply. Share a little bit about how you think about that at Homeboy, what you've learned in your corporate life versus at Homeboy about cultivating leadership, and what sort of leadership qualities do you think are going to be most important in the years ahead?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about leadership. And early on, I learned that you grow as a leader when you have a great team working for you. And how do you have a great team working for you? You hire really good people and you keep investing and training them. So when I show up at Homeboy, which is a nonprofit, like most other nonprofits, they spend zero effort on developing leaders. And in other nonprofits, and either probably some other businesses, they think they can just go hire other people, better leaders, and bring them all in. But that's not really a formula for long-term success. And for Homeboy particularly, it's such a unique mission that early on it was so clear to me that I have to develop leaders from within to keep this going.
Build your own bench.
Build your own bench. Now, at Homeboy, we have all these folks coming in. This is their first job. They're finding their self-worth in their job. And they're naturally good leaders as well. But what I saw was they didn't have a lot of managerial skills. They had that natural instinct. And they kind of just sort of try to get by on their natural instinct. And I had to have a real firm conversation. For you to keep growing, you need both sides. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to invest on teaching you the managerial side, as well as some other leadership concepts. And so I went out of my way to go raise money just for leadership development. And luckily, we've got a few foundations who supported that. So it's a long-term approach as to how do you kind of develop leaders from within. And so now, like I said, 75% of our management team are former clients. On the executive team of 12 people, 6 are former clients along the way. And so to me, it's this blending of inside talent and outside talent, but really trying to get the mindset to be we're constantly learning.
That's really cool. I love that you're constantly connecting leadership and learning. And I see my role as head of school to be the chief learner in the organization.
That's right.
And hopefully that sets an example, models for everyone else, and all the way down to our students. I mean, it's a school. There should be learning happening all the time, but it's not just in the classroom. And we're raising money to start and to support a leadership fund so that we can focus more on leadership in the years ahead.
That's right.
The world needs leaders.
Yes.
And one of our firm beliefs is that you can lead from anywhere in an organization. You don't need a title. And I'm sure that's the kind of thing that you see at Homeboy all the time.
Yeah. And our folks, because they grew up in gang life, it's a very hierarchical system. Part of this is teaching them that, well, no, you can lead without formal authority. You can lead from, to your point, you can lead from any position. It's how you present yourself, how do you show up, how do you kind of talk, how do you kind of bring other people along.
Well, Tom, I really appreciate the conversation. It's been really great to have you on campus, and look forward to building the relationship with Homeboy in the months and years ahead.
As do we. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you for joining me on Walk the Walk. Please support us by following, subscribing, and visiting us at providencehigh.org/walkthewalk, where you can sign up for our email list to join the conversation. Thanks again, and see you next time.